To see whether this plot matches reality, it's very simple. I put the exact same single screen capture from the video between the background that had the crosshair on it for where 0, 0 is, and all of those plotted things. The plotted 0 to 7 meter heights on the buoy, the plotted distances on the water surface, the plotted grey blob of a breakwater, the plotted roof of the restaurant, and up here the plotted FAA building. In this, of course, I need the scale. The whole point of putting it there is the scale. So I've used the horizontal distance on the screen, left to right, the azimuth change, whatever you want to call that, from the centre of the buoy to a particular corner on the FAA building to get the horizontal scale. I have kept the aspect ratio of the video capture, so this should all line up. As you can see, I have lined up the buoy. I think some people call that a buoy, but I call it a buoy. It is buoyant, not buoyant. Its bottom is on the 0, or near enough, and it appears to be most of 5 meters tall. Somewhere behind it, there should be all of this water surface and a breakwater and a restaurant roof. Obviously not seeing the restaurant roof, obviously not seeing the breakwater. The water surface is a bit harder to be sure of because there is obviously so much mirroring going on over here. There is such a mirage that day. So where you see white lights on the right, that's stuff you're seeing, but look at the water, visible water below. In between them, there's just a smudge. Somewhere in that band between is a mirror line, and it's possible all the stuff between the mirror line and what's clearly visible has been squished something awful. So it's possible we're getting multiple mirroring and getting some kind of ducting effect going on. It's really hard to say whether the water surface is, out of 5 kilometers or out to 6 or out to 8, 7 or 8 or 9 or out to the 16 kilometers. What we can say for sure is that there is stuff visible below where the water at 17 kilometers should be and straight through where the breakwater should be. And in fact, there's a detail on the hillside, probably a building there, visible through where the restaurant roof should be. So this isn't a very good match. And if we look at the FAA building, it is too low. Way too low. So flat ain't a good match, probably because the Earth isn't flat. I can fix the FAA building being too low. That's easy enough. Line it up. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that line up perfectly? Well, near enough perfectly. Left side should be the left edge of the building. Right side should be that corner and is lined up with that corner. I should probably have used the brightly lit side where the stripes are visible rather than using the near side where the stripes are less visible. But, if I got everything right, I wouldn't be me. Restaurant roof. That is definitely not the roof of a restaurant. That is buildings on the hill behind, slope behind the restaurant. Down here, there's a red smudge that is something. And is visible through where the breakwater should be. And also, there is possibly mirage visible through where the breakwater should be. The buoy isn't visible through where the breakwater should be. Obviously, it is closer than the breakwater. Left of that, the breakwater would continue way off the screen. There is stuff visible, but a lot of that is reflections or stretching of the stuff above. Could be mirage on the water surface this side of the breakwater. Does a mirage layer get 4 meters deep and mask a 4 meter high breakwater? No. But it could be masking some stuff. And, really big deal, when you get the FAA building correctly lined up with its part of this plot for Earth flat and observer in center of flat Earth, this buoy appears to be floating on top of a hill of seawater 3 meters high. That thing flat earthers keep asking us why they've never seen. Well, there it is, apparently, in the middle of Puget Sound. How come nobody noticed? If flat doesn't work, let's try geometric Earth. Lots of curvature, no refraction. Same features. I've drawn the blue differently. Now the blue is just the end points, and you can see on the blue it goes quite quickly up the screen, slows down. At 7 kilometers is the highest on the screen it gets, Both 6.5 and 7.5 are lower than that, and then it's down the far side to the 17 kilometres where it meets the breakwater. There's the breakwater below this pale blue horizon line. The restaurant is above the pale blue horizon line, and the FAA building is still up there. Does that match the photograph? No. Again, with the buoy in the right place. Now, well, the horizon line is kind of near where I'd draw the mirror line if I was trying to draw the mirror line, in that maybe it's a little too low to be the mirror line. The restaurant roof, no, that's not a roof, because there's a feature below it that extends up through it, or partway through it. The buoy, obviously, because I used it for the lineup, yeah, it's in the right place, and again, most of 5 meters tall. FAA building is too high now. So Earth is neither flat nor lacking an atmosphere. This shouldn't come as a surprise, because you should be able to hear me this time. Which means there has to be an atmosphere to carry my voice from me to my microphone and from your speakers to your ears. So obviously Earth isn't lacking an atmosphere, and obviously for the last few thousand years, especially obviously for the last few hundred years, even more obviously for the last few decades, Earth isn't flat. So obviously neither of those works. How about Earth with refraction? Well, how about Earth without refraction lined up on the FAA building? You get the same problem, right? The buoy is now too low, and the restaurant roof clearly has a building showing through it or in front of it or something. That's not it either. Earth without refraction. I mean, look where the water surface is shown now. You've got the exact opposite of the problem you had on the flat Earth. Instead of the 3 meter hump of water, you've got this great big kind of hole. Everything is just not looking how it would look without refraction. Let's try with refraction. There we go. The squiggly line for the surface now has printed rather than scrawled numbers, and the highest point is at 7.5 kilometers, not 7. Hat is still there above the horizon, breakwater is still below the horizon, FAA building is still up here above eye level. Does it match? Again, center the buoy. Again, most of 5 meters tall. This time, that restaurant roof could be correct. That pale square under the middle of it could be a feature of the restaurant. It could be the museum entrance on this side or something like that. The stuff above it, that's fine. It's behind the restaurant. Breakwater will be out of sight. Everything between that blue horizon line that's pretty close to being the mirror line for the mirage over here, and the visible water could be masked by mirage. FAA building is too high, which means there's more refraction than this minimal amount of refraction, but it's closer. It's closer than it was on the no refraction, and it's a lot closer than it was on flat. So in theory, if I did this again and again, I would get eventually the correct amount of refraction to line up all of the heights. There we go, line up the FAA, and the buoy is too low, and the restaurant building is obviously in the wrong place, and the horizon line is obviously in the wrong place. Eventually I could probably get this right, but the big deal is, whichever one I use, getting the height, the scale on the stripes on the FAA building correct, and the left to right scale buoy to FAA building correct, most of 5 meters tall. So my conclusion, without actually figuring out exactly how much refraction to use, my conclusion is that I was right. It's about 15'4" above the water. Again, link for the spreadsheet shall be in the description. Feel free to play with it.